Okay, I think we are live on Facebook, so we can go ahead and start letting everybody in.
Right.
And then I'll switch to gallery view for a minute. Hi, everybody. All right, so we should be live here. When you enter, if you're not automatically muted, just hit the little mute on the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom screen there, just to make sure no background noises are coming up. My Zoom has had some technical difficulty in which sometimes your microphone will trigger it to record you. And so I was doing like a painting instruction. This was a couple of months ago. Still haven't gotten it fixed. And my whole painting instruction was just like somebody's black screen instead of my screen. So if you mute yourself, it won't be the camera on your face through the whole recording here. We're also live on Facebook right now. So hi to everybody who's joining us in the Facebook group. I do have my Facebook window open, so you can comment on Facebook, although we can't catch it. So if you really want to join the conversation, come join us over on Zoom. The Zoom link should be in your email, and it's posted in the Facebook group under the announcements of the group. But that's the way to really join the conversation. So everybody who's here on Zoom today, thanks for joining us live. My connection has had some disruptions today, so I apologize if I freeze. You just let me know in the chat section. We're just going to roll with it. We're going to roll with the technical difficulties if we get them. But hi, say hi in the chat and let us know where you're joining from today. Say hello in the chat. If you're just entering now, go ahead and just mute your microphone in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Hit mute for me just so that background noise doesn't grab the camera. Hi from Jacksonville. Hello, new neighbors. A lot of new people, a lot of my new neighbors are joining New Year's Revolution this year. So this is really fun. There are a lot of people on the list from last year. I ran this the first week of January in 2022, and it was just such a high energy, inspiring event that I want to do it every year, regardless of, what happens from here on out. It's a way that I can really, I feel like, give a little bit of what I love to do, which is inspiring people and coaching. And I can do that in a way that is fun and to me feels pretty effortless and gets us off on the right foot for the beginning of the year. All right, so we have hi from Orlando, hi from Ohio. Hi, Paulette. Is that my mom's neighbor, Paulette? Hi from Virginia, Franklin, Tennessee. I'm going to be in Tennessee for the Elevate conference next week. Is anybody else going to be at Elevate in Tennessee or Imaging USA in Tennessee? There's some conferences coming up, so I'll be there. Hopefully I can hug some of you in person. So first thing I want to do is just give a brief background to why I do this workshop series, what it's all about, and who I am, because there are a lot of new faces in the group this year who maybe haven't followed along with my journey as an artist and an entrepreneur over the years. Know in the comments, in the chat box. Am I frozen? Am I frozen? I'm back. Imaging. Kim's going to be imaging. Good. I want to know in the chat how long you've known me or how long we've known each other. I'm just so curious because there definitely are some people who probably only met me a month or two ago. And so I want to just give a quick background on sort of my journey as an artist and an entrepreneur, and then why I'm so passionate about this work in particular. So 2013, awesome. 2014. A month ago from a friend recommendation for 2018, 2011. Yes, Jennifer. Newborn portraits in 2011. I think that's how we met, was your newborn session, right? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Alyssa was digital photo class at Shepherd Hill High School, graduated in 2010, have been following your photography for a while. I love that. I was just in downtown St. Augustine. So for those of you who don't know, I am originally from Rhode Island. And then I was a high school art and photography teacher in Massachusetts for a number of years. And then I started a photography business in Massachusetts, then moved that into Rhode Island, ran a portrait studio in Rhode Island for over a decade. I began speaking and teaching in the photography industry. And then I got into more of this deeper like life coaching type work that is really what I'm passionate about, and its ties to creativity and art, and working specifically with creative women, because I think our brains all kind of work the same, and we're really drawn to the same type of this deeper work, and like reconnecting with that intuitive side of ourselves, that playful side of ourselves, that joyful side of ourselves, that sometimes the modern world can like dampen out of us a little bit, or just dull out of us a little bit. And so kind of reconnecting to that spark is a big part of my journey as an entrepreneur. And now what I love to help other women do too. So 2012, Rhode Island, 2020, touring the studio. Yes. Okay. So we had the studio in Rhode Island, and then we opened another studio in 2020 called New England Photo Collective, which was a photo collective space and rental studio. And I was still teaching and speaking and doing some photography work, and also do a lot of fine art work, like photography backgrounds, that type of stuff. And then the pandemic hit the week we were supposed to open the thing that we had renovated and kind of like sunk everything into. And one thing led to another, and we decided we didn't want to live in Rhode Island anymore. So we moved 1,000 miles last summer to Florida. So I'm now living in St. Augustine, Florida. And so there's been quite a few changes and shifts, especially in the past 4 years for me. And not just on an external level, but also on an inner level. The deeper work, which is the work that I love to do with all of you now in this goal setting, in this like finding peak performance, in this re-tapping into your creativity, is the work that I started doing really on a serious level in 2012. 2012 is when I began speaking in the photography industry. And I birthed my second daughter, Grace. And I was working like 50 to 60 hours a week in my studio, traveling on the weekends and speaking. For a short period of time, we had sold our house and didn't have another house. And I was like about 6 months pregnant and had to move back in with my parents because we had nowhere to live. And so 2012 was like, I can look back and say probably like a rock bottom year for me, even though a lot of stuff was happening in my career. It was the most stressed out and exhausted and burnt out I've ever been in my life. And that set me on a journey. I had always been like a high achiever. I loved school. I did really well in school. I was a worker. Like I loved working. I always held multiple jobs. So I thought there was only one path to success. And to me at that time, it was just like, if you want to be more successful, work more, work harder, work more hours, try harder. Like you just have to lead the race, whatever the race is. Like you just have to run faster and harder than everybody else and you'll win it. And I really burnt myself out in that way. And I also became very disconnected to the more feminine side of myself. That was the mother, the nurturer, like everything that I wanted to be. I had to like shut it down so that I could perform at that high level that I was doing in my career. And there was very little balance. I'm a Libra, so I love balance. So there's very little balance for me there, and just had a lot of physical symptoms. I went back after having my daughter Grace. I was back to work 4 weeks later. So I was still, like leaking milk and other things, and hunched over a newborn bean bag and posing newborns, and just like very physically exhausted. I had a pinched nerve in my neck that was recurring. And so I was trying a lot of like alternative medicine for that, chiropractic care and all the supplements and the green juices and the cleanses and physical therapy, because at one point my right arm, I couldn't lift it in certain, like it almost looked like I had torn my rotator cuff. My right arm just stopped working. It was literally my body saying like, you can't work anymore. It's just stop working. And I remember at that time too, like having that feeling of, oh my gosh, I wish I like broke my leg or got in a car accident or like something terrible happened so that I would be forced to rest. Because I just felt like I couldn't take any time, no sick time, no vacation time, no, like I just was like, I want to just go into a hotel room or hospital, either one, and just like not be disturbed for a month, you know? And it probably would have taken me a lot longer than a month to recover at that point from that level of burnout. So, so that's that part of the story is just what led me on this path to like find a better way of still creating, still following my dreams, still running my businesses, still making an impact in the world through my career, through my artistic talents, but also taking care of myself. So taking care of the self was the part I just always left out of that equation. And I don't think that our generation necessarily has been taught how to do that very well. I think, you know, that's not, we learn how to do everything else really well. And we learn how to find all the answers out in the world and how to seek outside of ourselves for everything, success, abundance, even health. Like everything is out there. So go seek the answers in the world. And we're never taught how to look inward for the answers. But the intelligence that you have within you is, in my opinion, so much greater than what you can find out in the world. But if my opinion is extreme, or my belief is extreme, it's at least equal to. It's at least equal to, and it's something that we don't typically give any time or attention to, or we maybe haven't even learned how to cultivate or listen to it. So that's what this workshop is all about. It's about both. It's about balancing both. And what I think in our society has become so extreme is like one side of the equation is just like we hammer down on that action side of the equation, on the work side of the equation, on the get stuff done side of the equation, and we don't do enough of the replenishing work, of the creative work, of connecting to our creativity and intuition, of the nurturing side of ourselves, not just for other people, because we're pretty good at nurturing other people, I think, but like ourselves, giving that to ourselves. And so that's what I'm passionate about, bringing to achievement, bringing to goal setting, bringing to big dreams. Like, let's combine them and make them one. Okay. So when we're setting goals in the next couple of days, we're going to be really trying to connect to the smaller voice within us that we don't listen to as often. What do you guys think? Curious. So there are a lot of people from my coaching community on here too, and I'm so happy you guys are here and you're not sick of hearing me talk. But we do a lot of this work where we constantly have to redirect our attention. I don't know what's going on now. You're going to hear noises in the background of my house because I'm in a big open, I don't have like a closed office anymore. But we don't often make it a habit to reconnect with our internal guidance system, our internal intuition, and they're all higher thinking. So intellect is one way of thinking, like our brain, our mind, intellect. That's one way of thinking, but our bodies have so much more intelligence within them. Our heart has its own energy center and intelligence. You say like, my heart wants it, right? That's the intelligence coming from your heart. You can have a gut instinct or an intuition or like maybe something gives you a sick feeling or bad feel, like I have a bad feeling about that. That's a form of intelligence. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of this is proven scientifically through actually measuring the amount of the electromagnetic field of your heart is much greater than that of your brain. So your heart's giving off a lot more energy than your brain is. And there's the gut axis, the connection between the brain and the gut. And you hear a lot about gut health, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard this. You got to take your probiotics because your gut health is like, it's producing your serotonin and it's producing dopamine and it's producing oxytocin, all that stuff. So like, so it is known that everything needs to be working holistically, yet we don't often give attention to any of that other intelligence when we're making big decisions. And why is that? Why is that, do you think, that we don't give a lot of credibility or attention to the other sources of intelligence within our bodies, or the other forms of thinking, like just intuitive thinking or creative thinking, creative problem solving. Any ideas? You can pop it into the chat. Why do you think we don't listen to that side of ourselves as much, or give it as much weight, or as much credibility, or as much of our belief? Yep, societal norms and fear. Procrastination, definitely. Not knowing how, yes. Yep, all good answers. Alyssa says societal norms and fear. So societal norms is definitely like the way that we're taught in school. Like, let's just say that. So it's the way you're taught in school. So I was an art teacher. That's my degree is in art education. And I studied Montessori, and I studied multiple different types of it. There's 7 different types of intelligences. And traditional schooling really doesn't cater to all the different forms of learning and intelligences. It really focuses more heavily on what's going to the standardized tests, because that test scores produce funding and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of politics and all that. But yeah, that does get schooled out of us to a certain degree. So when we're young, like if you've ever had young children or worked with young children, they're all creative, right? They just paint. They don't care what the outcome's going to be. They paint out of their head. They're not like, I need to see a picture and measure this and whatever. They're creating stuff that's like, I mean, Grant stuff. I'm like always, I'm like, where did you see that? Where did that come from? Because it's wild. It just came out of his imagination. So imagination is a really powerful. Actually, there's an Albert Einstein quote that kind of just fits with what I'm saying right now. But this was attributed to him in a book about creative genius. But he said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. We honor the servant and we've forgotten the gift. And the truth is, we need it all. We got to bring it all to the table. If you're really dreaming big and you want to accomplish big goals and everything, like bring your whole self into it. And to do that, we have to retrain our brains. We have to retrain our brains to pay attention to all of this other stuff. And that's just through small daily habits. It's not through anything major. You don't have to go get another degree. So societal norms, right? That's basically our conditioning through education and whatever education we grew up with. Then Alyssa also says fear. So fear is really the thought system of our egos. Ego is not bad. The ego is not wrong. The ego is just part of our personality. It's part of our psyche. If you study psychology, the ego is part of your studies in psychology. The ego is the thought system of fear. Why? Does anybody know why? Like what purpose does the ego serve? If you're in my coaching groups, you have to know the answer to this. Put it in the chat. What purpose does the ego serve? To protect us. Yes. Okay. So the ego is the part of our personality that is made for survival. It is for survival. That's it. So it's always looking for danger. It's looking for, if you've ever experienced trauma in the past or pain in the past or whatever, the ego wants to keep you safe. That's all. That's its only function really in psychology. And so if anything has ever hurt you in the past or caused you pain or caused your family pain or whatever, that's embedded in your psyche. And now your ego is always just looking out for that. It's like, and that's part of our like old lizard brain, you would say, but like the early development of the brain, the interior part of the brain is the animal part of the brain that's just wired for survival. And that's okay, but it's good to just know like where those thoughts are coming from. Are we like if we take a chance on our dream, are we going to get attacked by a lion? Probably not, right? But our ego is like, that's how scary it feels. It feels like we're going to get attacked by a lion. And that's just something that has like evolved with humans over time. So it's good to just observe it and to also be able to let it go and trust some of the other forms of intelligence within you. Okay, so just scrolling back, Alyssa says the societal norms and fear. Paulette says procrastination. Yes. And do you know where procrastination comes from? It comes from the thought system of the ego. So anytime you find yourself procrastinating, know that you have slipped into that thought system. I am like an eternal procrastinator. I have very ADHD brain. I was diagnosed with adult ADHD back before 2012, before my really overwhelming crazy year. And that was also part of it was trying to heal my brain holistically. Medication just never really worked for me. So that also set me on this journey, was like, how do I heal some of my ADHD symptoms or make them a little bit easier to live with? The overwhelm, the constant forgetting of things, the distraction, the procrastination, all that stuff. How do I lessen those symptoms? And this work really truly does do that. And what we're going to be doing here does do that, because it's basically dropping out of that ego thought system, and it's aligning you with a greater thought system. I would call that the thought system of your highest and best self, the thought system of the part of you that wants to be expressed. And that's all a desire is. So we're going to talk about setting your goals from your desires for this year. All desire is the unexpressed part of yourself wanting to be expressed. It's the unexpressed part of yourself wanting to be expressed. That is the foundation of whatever it is that you desire. So we're learning how to slip out of the ego thought system, recognize it and be like, oh, that's what it is, just trying to keep me alive. And we're going to try to slip out of that and tap into some of our other forms of intelligence and intuition and creativity. Jamie says not knowing how is a big reason we don't do this enough. And that's also very true, because no one teaches you. But the thing is, it's really simple. It's simpler than you think. It's actually who you really are. You're made to believe that it's not the strongest part of you. And that's because if everybody knew how to tap into themselves and find all the answers and all the wisdom, then you would never need to buy anything. You would never, besides food maybe, but like our culture, society, advertising, marketing, like the whole entire scheme of all of it is make you feel like you don't have enough within, make you feel like you're missing something so that you can buy it from me. That's ultimately, if we can just narrow down all advertising to that. You're missing something, I've got it, give me your money. And so we really are trained to just see the whole entire world through that filter, and we're bombarded with it all day, every day. Okay. Yep. Melanie says, as a culture, I think we're not taught to trust that. Definitely. And it takes time to trust it. So anybody who's been working with me for a little while, I'm sure you can attest to this in the comment section. Learning how to trust what we're doing in these 4 days is your life's work. It goes on forever. But as you begin to trust it more and you get to start to have results from it, it gets exciting. This is why I'm here doing this, because I get excited and I get all lit up by it. And I'm like, guys, it works. Come on. And now I want you to all experience it too. And if you were in New Year's Revolution last year, then you probably told some people about it, and you're spreading it too, because you're like, guys, come on, it works. And that's how the trust is built. It's through trial and error. But if you never give yourself the chance to try, then you're never going to get the results, and you're never going to build that trust. I'm going to take my watch off because it listens to me. Okay. April says programming, exactly. Conditioning, cultural conditioning. People call it your paradigm, the paradigm you grew up with. And it's not just schools. It's our family units. It's our culture. It's our society. There's a difference if you grew up in the 70s or if you grew up in the 80s or you grew up in the 90s. We all have a little bit of a different paradigm. This is why our generations all get a name, right? And so and that's shifting over time. It will continue to shift. And that's why we continue to innovate, change, and expand, because expansion really is the nature of all life in the universe. The universe is always expanding. And so our souls, our spirits have a natural urge for that expansion. And when you stop expanding, meaning you stop setting those goals, you stop having that vision, that's when you start to feel either anxious energy or depressed energy, because we're not in the flow of the natural expansion that is just our nature. We're like out of alignment with our core nature of being. So many good comments here. Yes, cultural norms. We're not taught to trust it. The ego keeps you safe. Yep. To alert us. And any who's experienced any type of trauma, and trauma is just when you don't feel control of your situation. So that could be getting in a car accident. It could be something physical. It can be surgery. It can be abuse. It could be an embarrassment of some kind, like having to stand up in front of the class or getting, you get in trouble by your teacher or something. Like all those things, they can be micro or they could be like major, but they all form layers of the ego, because in any time that happens, our brain is actually rewired in that to say, like, this is how to keep yourself safe. So on like a micro level, let's just say you're embarrassed in front of your classroom, a neural pathway is formed that is like, don't stand up in front of people and speak, because you're going to be embarrassed. Like if you want to save yourself the pain that you experienced, the emotion that you experienced in this situation, then don't do that anymore, right? And so in the future, your brain still is like replaying that past tape, that neural pathway that was formed at that time. And so the only reason it's important to understand that is to just recognize when it's happening. It's just recognize when it's happening. That's called metacognition, is just being able to observe when it's happening within your thoughts and say like, okay, well, what are some other thoughts that I have about this outside of what the ego is thinking? What are some other thoughts or ideas or possibilities of what's going on here? Is there a different way to look at this than what my ego is first telling me is going to go wrong? Okay, so I tried printing out the workbook. If you printed out the workbook, you can grab that today. So some of this can be done live today, and we're going to go through that. And some of it can be done tonight for your homework. I would love if you have any takeaways from today, please share them in the group, in the Facebook group. If you're not already in there, that's also the link to that is in your email. Or you can even, if you're not on Facebook and you just want to reply to me or put your takeaways in these comments, any of those things are all great. But sharing your takeaways helps reinforce it in your brain. So just hearing something is one thing, but then speaking it back or teaching it to somebody else or sharing it with somebody else helps to really rewire your brain to believe it more. And it helps at the subconscious level too. And then practicing it is what makes it even stronger. So just hearing the idea alone isn't enough to like change your world. Really, we have to talk about it. We have to share it. We have to embody it. We have to practice it. And then it becomes our reality over time. So I'm just going to pull up that PDF real quick. The beginning of the PDF on the first page is gratitude. So anytime you're doing this work, I will challenge you to start with gratitude. Now, I've gone crazy with this. So this is why this year's New Year's Revolution will be even different than last year's, because so much has changed for me in the past year that I'm like digging deep. I'm all in on this work now, practicing what I preach a lot more. So gratitude is one of the highest emotional states of creating what you want to create in your life. When you feel gratitude, like feel it. I'm not just saying like say it or write it. Like, yeah, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my friends. Like, I'm not saying just like list it out. I'm saying like feel gratitude in your heart. And when you can feel it in your heart, in your body, that energy, it has a frequency to it. And it's one of the strongest places you can create from. So right before this, I went live on Instagram. Did anybody see that? Anyways, I live on Instagram. I was talking about my ritual now that I do before I do any public speaking or something important, an important project, writing project, anything related to my work at this point. I have started a practice of getting into flow state, which we'll talk about a little bit more, not today, but getting into state for peak performance, but flow state puts you in a state of elevated emotion. And when I'm in that elevated emotion and feel really connected, I also practice gratitude and intention setting. So this is flow state paintings. Oh, I hit my microphone. They're like not about what it looks like. It's just scribbles on paper, but I have a lot of words and intentions like layered in with the paintings. This is just a sketchbook. And so instead of stressing about what I was going to say and I don't even have a bullet point to talk to you guys for an hour today. I cut all of that's like the intellect side of your intelligence. I cut all of that stressful energy out. And now I just into an elevated emotion through practice of gratitude and flow state. And so I come in feeling such a joy and just a lightness, and it's just a different energy than when I used to speak 10 years ago. I feel like I would go on stage. It was such a frazzled energy. And then I would be done, an hour later, and I'd turn to everybody and go, what did I say? Was it good? Because I felt like it was like an out of body experience. I wasn't even there, the one speaking. And this practice gets you into such a better, more powerful place to create from, whether your creation is your career, your work, your job, your family, your parenting, whatever you're doing. If you want to do it well, practice getting into these elevated emotions like gratitude first. So that's why the beginning of the workbook every single day of this workshop is practicing your gratitude. So you go ahead now, if you want to, and write down a few things that you're grateful for in this moment. Maybe it's just having the time to be here. It's noticing your time abundance and being able to be here. Giving this gift to yourself. You should pat yourself on the back for even showing up. Showing up is a gift to yourself. Listening, learning how to listen to your inner voice, knowing what you want and being willing to have some belief in its possibility and going for it. Maybe gratitude for your warm house on a cold day, or for the warm sunshine if it's warm where you are, or for the snow falling outside your window, for your family, for your friends. And as you write those things down, I want you to try to feel the gratitude. So typically when you feel gratitude, first of all, if you can't feel gratitude in your body, that's okay. That's actually where a lot of people start all of this work. And you can let me know that in the chat. If you do feel gratitude in your body, where do you usually feel it? Anybody know? I mean, there's no wrong answer, really. If you feel it in your toe, you feel it in your toe. But yes, your heart. Yes, exactly. Your heart. Yeah. So gratitude is typically going to be felt in your heart center, although you may feel it, expanding out from the heart, like getting choked up. You can feel it rise. Feel warm and excited. Feel it in my breath. Yes. Awesome answers. Yeah. And so as you're writing those words, really try to feel it. And when I'm doing my practice with my painting, I'm really trying to feel it. The conference I'm speaking at next week, we're doing a paint night, a creativity night. I'm doing a little painting thing, and there's also hand lettering. And we're not doing it so that you can paint something really cool. Although you might want to paint something really cool. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing it to connect you to this part of yourself. There's a lot of different ways to connect. So art is one of them. Art has always been a way to connect to that. If you go back and study art for the past thousands of years, it was always a way to connect to spirit, the divine, to God, whatever God the culture believed in. Up until about modernism, art was always a way to connect to that. But that's not the only way. A lot of different physical activities will connect you with that. Taking a walk in nature itself, gazing upon nature, gazing upon the ocean, gazing upon the forests. Writing can get you into it if you enjoy writing. There's all sorts of things, right, to connect you to that. So that's why I want you to start there. Okay, and then let me just get that PDF out. Does anybody have any questions while I'm pulling it up? You can pop them in the chat. Okay, so always starting with gratitude. And I suggest that you, for everything we're doing in this, if you do the Dream Life guided visualization, if you haven't done that yet, that's just a free visualization, like meditation. I will post that in the Facebook group, and I'll make sure you have a link to it in the email too. But if you want to go a little deeper and do an actual visualization to try to do to your intuition, that's a good exercise to go through, because it helps quiet the outside world. A lot of times for us to connect to that inner voice, it's so quiet and we're so not used to listening to it. We have to shut out the outside world in the beginning. So meditation is a good way to do that, because it makes us close our eyes and not pay attention to the outside world. We're paying attention to the inside. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about today is energy, and moving energy and shifting energy, and your choice of what energy you're feeling. So my old conception of energy was really like based on, well, if I'm tired, like my energy comes from how many hours I sleep at night, the foods that I'm eating, how hard I'm working or not, or whatever, or the vacation might give me some energy back, whatever. And it's those things do affect it. They can have an effect on it for sure. But there is also a way to manage your own energy, shift it from not feeling so good to feeling better. Every emotion that you feel has a measurable frequency to it. So emotions that don't typically feel very good, like fear, anger, grief, sadness, have a lower frequency to them. And you know that instinctually, right? Because when you're feeling down, depressed, fearful, anxious, whatever, you feel low energy, right? You feel not great. Unless if you're in real fear, it can trigger fight or flight, which is a lot of adrenaline. So you might actually have a lot of anxious energy. But other than that circumstance, most of the time those emotions feel low. That's why it's called depressed, right? Higher emotions that register higher on the emotional frequency scale or energetic frequency scale, like love, passion, joy, bliss, like all those things, they feel elevated, don't they? Like how it feels in your body feels a higher energy, feels like what do you want to do when you're joyful? You're like, oh, that's a high energy. And so we think, and we're kind of conditioned to believe in a lot of ways, that our energy is affected by something outside of us. And that can have an effect on it, but it's not the only effect on it. We have a power within to shift that energy, to cultivate higher energy, to practice higher energy emotions. Like feeling good all the time can start to be a practice for you. And this is why a gratitude, if you follow like anyone successful, from Oprah to like athletes, to Olympic athletes, to geniuses and whatever, we're all talking about the same thing. And a lot of them have gratitude practices, right? Tony Robbins, like he's going to say the same stuff I'm saying because it's true and it works. What are you doing in a gratitude practice? You're practicing feeling an elevated emotion. So you're changing your energy. And our brains, if you study neuroscience, become addicted to emotional patterns. So every time you experience an emotion, which has an energetic frequency, your brain releases a little chemical cocktail, basically. And our bodies become addicted to the chemical cocktail that our brain produces, whether it's good or bad. It becomes our state of normal. And the body always wants to stay normal, right? So if normal is being anxious all the time or whatever, we're repeating the thoughts that make us feel that way. And the reason we're repeating them is because our body's addicted to the chemicals that it's producing, because we've been producing them for so long. And so to begin to shift out of those, one of the things that we can do is start to practice some other feelings and emotions through stuff like a gratitude practice and the other goal setting and things that we're going to be doing this week, so that we can make that shift within ourselves. And in the beginning, it might be like 1 or 2 minutes a day that I'm going to sit down, I'm going to practice this, I'm going to feel it. And maybe I get a glimpse of the feeling, but it's not like an ongoing feeling all the time, all day, whatever. But we can begin to retrain our brains. Brains are very resilient, and they can be healed, and they can be, I follow a lot of neuroscience, which the ADHD topic got me into all of that, was healing the brain. But I recognize now it's so connected. Everything's so connected. It's all connected together. But we can begin to retrain it just through habit and practice and belief and believing and showing up for yourself and doing what you're doing here today. You know, it's taking a little bit of time to get inspired, to feel creative, to feel optimistic, to get excited about your goals and enthusiastic and passionate and fired up. And like, it makes a difference. Every little bit of it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're doing it. You're retraining your brain every time you do it. Okay. So one of the big goals of the workshop series is to set your goals from this greater intelligence within you, your intuition, your creative voice, your highest self. You can call it what you want to. There's so many names for it in every culture, in every religion. There is a part of you that is the highest and best expression of yourself. We all have it within. It's working from your heart. It's the love within you. It's spirit. Whatever you want to call it is fine. I don't like to dig in. A lot of this is related to religion and spirituality, but I don't go there because I feel like it kind of separates an audience. But it's all the same. It's all the same. So the part of yourself, whatever you want to label it, whatever you want to call it, that highest and best expression of yourself that is within, we want to start creating from that, designing our life from that, designing our goals from that. Okay. There are 3 main mistakes that people make when goal setting that separate themselves from that greater wisdom within them. And it's right there. It's closer than your breath. It's not like you don't have to search. It's usually something that's like so close that you can't see it, basically. That's how simple and how natural it feels to you. But again, we just have to practice tapping into it. So the first thing is setting goals not from that place at all. So that would be ego goals. The opposite of that is your ego, basically. So because that is the thought system of love, and the ego is the thought system of fear, protection, survival, right? So when we make goals from our egos, so that those would typically be, but not always, let's say a money goal that is of the ego. So when we make a money goal, a time goal, or a body goal that doesn't take like our heart into consideration, I'm going to go deeper into this, but it doesn't take that into consideration. It's like just for the outer, it's just for the outer appearance of like what I think that goal is going to, how that I think that goal is going to make me feel. That would be an ego goal. When we make goals from there, we usually have to follow the thought system of the ego to accomplish them, which means we have to struggle, suffer, work hard. It's hard. It's a slog. That's because the intention, the motivation behind the goal. I just saw Marie Forleo posted today, oddly enough, what she was talking about goal setting and the importance of the motive behind the goal was how her post put it. But that's what I'm talking about here, is like what's behind the goal. And is it purely that I think I'm going to be happy when I get there, and my ego's driving the decision-making process here? How do I know? How are some ways that I would know that it's from the ego? If it comes from should, if it's something I should do, it's usually from the ego. Because the other side of yourself doesn't should you. It doesn't should you. It's the other side of the when you create a goal from your intuition, from your heart, it's passionate, it's enthusiastic, it's enjoyable, it's loving, it is kind to yourself. It is not, it doesn't tell you you have to suffer or sacrifice. It tells you you're already there. Like this is a part of, this is who you already are. It's just not expressed yet. That's that type, the goal that comes from your intuition or your highest and best self is saying you don't need to do anything. You don't need to become a vegan. You don't need to give something up. You don't need to run a marathon. You don't need to get somewhere before you are the person that accomplishes this. You're already that person. So just start doing it, right? So just start doing it now. So those are some ways that you can kind of differentiate between the voice of the ego and the voice of your intuition. So in this workbook, I want you to reflect on some of the goals that you've set in the past, maybe some old New Year's resolutions you've set in the past, and maybe which ones do you think came from your highest and best self, a way that you wanted to grow and expand authentically, and which ones came from maybe ego, should, whatever. I always give this example of an ego goal, which was a goal within my business back in 2017. I was at a conference and I had a lot of other goals too, but one thing I jotted down was I wanted to do $1 million in sales. And that year was a very difficult, challenging year. And I didn't love all the ways that I was getting to that goal. I didn't enjoy the process of getting to the goal. And so when I found out that we actually hit that number, that was a big turning point for me, because I was like, that doesn't feel as good as I thought it was going to feel. And that's how ego goals feel. Maybe you're temporarily proud or you're temporarily happy, but it's sort of like, that wasn't really worth it. It wasn't worth it to be miserable for 365 days of the year so that on the last day I could say I made that goal. Okay. So that brings me to the second mistake. And the second mistake with goal setting in this way is focusing on the outcome more than the journey, focusing how you're going to feel in the outcome more than the journey. It's so important with whatever goals that you set for yourself that you consider how you're going to feel on the way. That doesn't mean that you're not showing up to work on it. You got to take action in the world too, but it be inspired action. It should be like, I want this. I got to get this done. Not like, oh, this is a drag. I'm suffering through this, you know. This is a good one for like a body or a fitness goal too. Like, can you find ways to get to that goal that feel good? So like, this is a classic one with exercise too. And I used to exercise. It was like, I would do stuff that was very punishing, you know. It was like I didn't enjoy it at all. Now when I have fitness goals, I think about like, what are ways that I can reach that goal that are enjoyable to me? I love walking outside in nature. I like lifting weights. I like dance and hula hooping. Like, if I have a goal to get 10,000 steps, can I do it in a way that's fun? Or do I need to do it in a way that's like suffering? Okay. So enjoying the process of getting to the goal is just as important as the goal itself, if you want to create from your most powerful place. And then the third mistake with goal setting is setting a goal. And even if it's a goal from your intuition, and actually this happens probably more when it's a goal from your intuition and your highest and best self. What happens is we set a goal internally from our hearts. And then our ego rushes in and says, oh, hold on here. I'm going to control how this goes. I've got it covered. I know how to protect you. I know how to keep you safe. This is the way you were taught to do it. This is the way the experts say to do it. You know, your ego kind of comes in, and then what do? We like kind of drop it, or we let it go, or, you know, we let the ego take over because that's what's comfortable to us. And then we say, I'll set that goal when something else happens, like when my kids are older, when I have more time in my schedule, when I get a week off, when it starts staying light later, when I lose 5 pounds, when I give up carbs, when, you know what I mean? Like, we can do a million, I will do this when. So that's when procrastination comes in. And somebody mentioned procrastination too. So that's common. And we all do it. But it's important to recognize when it's happening and know that to really get to big goals, to like big, exciting, inspired goals, and that's what I want you to set for yourself this week, you just have to start taking action. Imperfect action, messy action, scared action. It doesn't need to be pretty. Once you begin taking action, your ego, let's call your ego like survival energy. And let's call the highest and best part of yourself your creative energy. Your creative energy is stronger than your survival energy, but you're only giving your energy to one or the other all the time. So when you're taking action out of ego, it's a lot longer. It's not as powerful. It usually doesn't feel so good. It's exhausting. It's when you get overwhelmed and burnt out, right? If you can free up that energy out of survival and bring it into creativity, it's much more powerful. Things feel more effortless. You still show up and work, but you have a different level of energy. So you're not going to feel burnt out as soon or as often. You're not going to feel as exhausted. Have any of you ever had a project or a goal that you've worked towards that you really felt lit up and inspired and excited about? Even if it was something small, it doesn't have to be like a life-changing, something small, like a little passion project, a little hobby, some little goal for yourself that you were just like 100% every cell of your body was like, yes, in this direction. You almost can't ignore it. Once you get into it, you can't ignore it. If you've had something like that and you want to share it in the chat, you can. But I'm sure you've had something with that level of passion before in your life. And if you haven't yet, I challenge you to make this work about finding that, trying to figure out what that is for you. And again, it doesn't have to be it could just be like, I just want to, I don't know, write a blog post or make a reel or take some pictures of my kids or whatever. So Beatrice says when she remodeled her workspace. Yes. There were a lot of elements of running my business that did feel very drew me in on that level of passion. And I think what's made me shift so much now is that I just want that all the time. I want to feel in that flow all the time. And I want to feel that excited. And to do that, you have to keep expanding. That means you have to stretch yourself a little. You have to challenge yourself a little. You got to go a little beyond. I was listening to I think it was a podcast. It might've been a Bob Proctor thing. But it was about goal setting. And he was just saying like, okay, well, what kind of goal is it? Is it something you've already achieved? Like, let's say it's to buy a new car. What kind of car do you want? Is it a car that you've already bought before? It's something you've already achieved. So this is that's not a big goal because you already know how to do it. You already did it. We want a goal that's going to stretch you a little further than that, just outside your comfort zone. Because that's where really great things happen. Mel, I feel that way every time I plan an elaborate party for family and friends or when I'm decorating in some way. Yes, I get that way with entertaining too. And entertaining, cooking is a great creative expression. It could be designing a room. It could be repainting. It could be just it could be gardening. These are all forms of expression. So whatever resonates with you. I say now, I want you to be the artist of your life, but it's not about being a fine artist. I don't even care about your art. I just want you to step into that. mode of creation, be the creator of your experience, right? Juliana says, I'm feeling this way right now about starting to do lives with guests on IG. I feel that way live too, definitely. When I just reorganized entry closet, yes, that would be my daughter Juliana, like loves organizing like that, color coding, organizing everything. You guys saw my desk. She doesn't get it from me. Let's see. I really want to eat healthy with my family, but every time I looked in there and everything was all over the place, I didn't know what was in there. It just made me angry and sort of depressed. I love it now, and I'm excited to try making a dinner, monthly dinner plan. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So like you guys are in charge. I mean, I'm here to inspire you. That's what I like to do. But like, you don't need me to inspire you. You got it. You have it. It's in you. The inspiration is in you. So right now I'm just like mirroring it to you. So you like find the spark, get inspired. Okay, great. But like you get to tap back into that all the time. So if something doesn't feel good or it feels heavy or you don't want to do it anymore, whatever. I mean, we all have responsibilities and things that are mundane and things that we don't want to do. Find a way to get inspired. Like what would make it fun for you? What would make it exciting? What would make it joyful? Right? Okay, so you're going to reflect on some of those things in the workbook. Just journal on it. The journaling is really important. It helps get to a deeper level within you. So we always have our like surface level thoughts. The power of journaling is it gets us a little deeper than our surface level thoughts, maybe to the core truths that are within us, and not just 90% of our thoughts are repetitive. They're the same thoughts that we thought the day before, and they're mostly negative. And the reason they're mostly negative is because our brains are wired for survival. So the dominance of our thought patterns are to look for what's wrong, to look for what's wrong, what's scary, what's fearful. And then of course we become addicted to those thought patterns because they release different emotions and chemicals within our body. Okay, so there's a space for big goals. In that space tonight, I want you to start brainstorming some really big, like, heart goals. Here's the main question. If you could design your life to look any way that you want it, and even if you don't believe right now that you have the power to do that, do. But if you can design your life to look any way that you want it to look, what would it look like? Ask yourself internally. Nobody's going to look at this. No one's going to see it. I'm not going to ask you your answers tomorrow. I just want you to be honest with yourself. There were a lot of things that I thought that I wanted that were very much ego goals for me that I've had to let go of through the course of my own personal journey. And some of them I was disappointed if it didn't happen. But now that I'm where I am, I'm like, I didn't really even want that in the first place. I didn't want that in the first place, right? Because it's really not like, what's your big like goals for your lifestyle, goals for what makes you joyful, goals for your relationships, goals for yourself as in your career or as a mother or whatever. Goals for your own artistic expression or creative expression or curiosities, things that you want to learn, like YOLO. We only live once. If we don't start living it now, when is it going to happen? Well, we fall back into the mistake number 3. When everything's easier, when I have more time, when I have more money, when I have, it's usually time, money, or the body. When one of those 3 things is perfect, then I will get on to fully expressing my desires in the world, right? Let's see. I'm just going through the comment section. So Jay Jewel says, should you be paid for the new goal or should you do it for free to get it accomplished? This is a really good question. Get it accomplished and under your belt. I am referring to photography and stylized shooting for a business. This is such a good question. Thank you for asking it. Because I fall into this trap a little bit too. If you are an artist or a creative of any kind that then monetizes your art, it can become very difficult to set goals that don't attach money to your art. So having experienced probably every different dimension of this myself, I would say your big goals that are from your heart, lay it all out. Like what does it actually look like? Like what does the project look like a stylized shoot? Lay it all out. What does that look like? You could do it just for yourself, or you could charge. You might want to charge to cover the cost of it if your business can't support it or something, like if you just don't have the money laying around to fund it, maybe you charge to fund it. But charging for it is kind of neutral. It doesn't really matter one way or the other if you're charging or not, unless it disconnects you from the alignment with the original goal being from your heart. So in other words, if charging for it makes it all about the money and no longer about the heart, then it's disconnecting you. It's not an aligned goal anymore. It's an ego goal now. And it's okay to have ego goals and money goals. That's all good. I love teaching people how to make money, because I think money can sometimes get rid of your survival instinct. That's if you're living in survival mode and just trying to pay your bills, you're kind of at, if you've ever seen hierarchy of needs, we need our needs met before we get into like self-actualization and higher level goals and the goals that are really of our heart. So make sure your bills are paid, right? So that you can get out of survival mode and you can tap your passion and your one way or another there, because I never will do that, because you have the answer within you. So to charge or to not charge doesn't matter. That's your call, but pay attention to how the goal feels and how it feels to work towards the goal, and make sure that your charging or not charging is not taking you out of alignment from the passion and excitement behind it. For me, I was so used to making money with my art that I really had to set aside things that I still have to make an effort to do this. If I sit down to paint, I have to be like, I'm not going to make a reel with this one. I'm not going to try to sell this one, or like think about who's going to buy it or what room it's going to match in. Sometimes I have to do that because I'm so used to selling my art. So it really kind of depends. And that's from my own circumstance as an example. But again, I don't think charging for it takes away at all. I'm all about, getting paid for your art for sure. All right. Elka asks, I feel this way a lot when I come with creative ideas, but it always gets killed by, I guess, my ego that says, maybe it's stupid. What if it doesn't work? Yes. And all my amazing ideas that the most come when I walk in nature. Yep. They just never see light because of all the scary blocks. Yeah. So these are big. We're going to get into this tomorrow, I think, limiting beliefs. Okay. I want to talk more about this, Elka. So come tomorrow. Like, let's dig into this. If anybody wants to bring some of their limiting beliefs or some of these thoughts that stop them or block them onto tomorrow's call, this is what I love. Like, I love digging into it with you. So I may have you come on and share with us a little bit if you're willing to do that, or you could just share in the chat section if you're nervous to speak in front of people. But yeah, this is all tomorrow. We'll get into these limiting beliefs. April says, got to get back to work. Thank you. Needed this today. I've been experiencing this in my life naturally since my divorce and relearning myself. I sent you a DM through Messenger a couple weeks ago, planning on being in the area next month. Oh, fun. Okay. I'll have to check. Was it on Facebook? I don't get all my messages, so I will check. I'll check all my message requests. I don't always get them in my main message box. Okay. So we're going to wrap it up because it's 2 o'clock already. Good thing I didn't actually prepare notes for what to say. I would have gone way over. So after you set your goals tonight, some big goals, big dream, like just be audacious with it. And then think about how the goal makes you feel. So this is another indicator if you're not sure if it's an ego goal or a real like heart goal, if you're not sure what voice to trust within you. Think about how the goal makes you feel. These bigger goals from your highest and best self, you should feel inspiration. Inspiration means in spirit. It's so you should feel excitement, enthusiasm, fired up, motivation, passion. Like they should get you going, excited. Okay. If they feel like a drag, we got to tweak it a little bit and think about like, how can we bring passion into this? The motive is more important than the goal itself. The energy behind it is more important than the goal itself. Okay. And then it goes into reclaiming your desires and your desired feelings. So, and then there's also like a way to rate your current level of happiness. So I want you to go through the whole workbook tonight and then come tomorrow with your questions, your aha moments, your thoughts, your reflections, your challenges, your mad at me, whatever. Come with it, like bring it. And let's dig into some of that, okay? Because that's usually the things that are going to challenge this information, the parts of you that are going to challenge it or feel a discomfort surrounding it are usually where you're blocked. They're usually the actual thing that's holding you back from really going after the dream, the goal, okay? Thank you all for being here today. If you have time to check into the Facebook group and share a little bit, inspire. We had over 500 registrants now for New Year's Revolution, including our last year registrants. So, so maybe, you know, giving them a little encouragement to hop on the live call tomorrow to bring their energy to the table. Let me know your thoughts, and I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. All right. The workbook, if you can't find it, Facebook, it's posted in Facebook, the Facebook group, and I'm going to be emailing you all again this replay. If you're on the email list, the replay and the workbook will go to you. But you can find every link you need in the Facebook group as well. I know a lot of people come in through Facebook and then don't necessarily sign up for the email. So, okay. Or just tag me and I'll get it to you. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.